everyone. My name is Anina, and I'm the founder and CEO of 360 Fashion Network. And today, I'm just going to have a very informal chat with you, but the idea that I really want to convey to you is my fashion background and my thinking behind the projects that I've done. And I really hope that this will help you in your projects to then come up with really great new products with a fashion angle. So fashion is pretty special because if you're not from the fashion industry, you really would have a hard time to understand what is fashion and what makes something fashion. And I think a lot of the fashion ideas out there actually come from lifestyle. They come from lifestyle and the stories that we tell. And not only that, I also would like to share with you my thinking, because why I would do something X or why I would decide to do something Y, either from a technology perspective or from the fashion side. And the reason is I would really like to see more fashionable and beautiful products coming out on the market. So I sincerely hope that by following my thought process, this will actually help you also to get new ideas and to create things with a lot of style. So just a quick little thing about me. My background is as an international top model. And I've worked everywhere in the world. I've done the Paris catwalks, and I've been on billboards, and I got off in Mongolia, and every billboard was me. And, sometimes I'm in the airport, and I'm in the airplane, and the video playing is me, And it's kind of a funny experience to see yourself around. But what it did is one day when I was walking through the streets of Milan, and literally I was on billboards and bus stations on the back of 16 different magazines, and I was really like everywhere. There was a company called Gas Jeans that I did their campaign 4 times, and I thought, I have this megaphone of visibility and I have nothing to say. And this time will pass, and I better get some message together, So I went home and I thought about it, and I said, I would like people, I would like to be able to influence women. And I would like them to make and think that fashion and technology is cool, because I think we really do need more women in technology. We think differently, and I think it could give us different technological solutions. So I'd like to say that it was at the crossroads of fashion and technology that Anina Net was born. And I had a friend of mine who started to teach me programming, who started to help me to get into this, and then I could easily help others to do it too. And now, 10 years later of doing fashion technology, I really am proud that we see more women in the engineering field, and that, we are also seeing new products be born. So I hope you will enjoy my presentation. And basically, my company takes fashion designers and engineers and puts them in a blender, and then we, execute on a project together. And that could be high fashion garments, that could be mobile apps, it could be, maker kits, it could be an array of things. But pretty much I love to collaborate with people, and the right technology, skinned with the right designer, can reach the right people and actually benefit their lifestyle. So I'd like to lead you through and show you some of my projects. The most recent one that I did was for Intel, which was on CCTV at Tunjie. And I built 162 smart gloves. And this smart glove was creating a human light pattern. And then this human light pattern had to be triggered at certain times during the performance. And then you had to think, wow, how do I get all those girls to push the button at the same time? They don't. So I'm going to show you the video and explain a little bit about the project. Director Jiang Gang, he did some things in the Olympics. And he had a very specific vision, which was, I don't want to see the glove. Which meant that I could not put any reinforcement in the glove. It literally was a nylon vadze, okay? And so I had to think about how are we going to build this hardware to withstand the violence of those dancers, because they really didn't know that this was something quite delicate. The director refused to allow me to use any high-tech solution, and he required me to have a button. But they didn't push the button at the same time, and then he was like, why is this lighting pattern not happening? So I soldered off all the buttons and I used gesture recognition, because every time the director wanted the lighting pattern to happen, they all made this one gesture with the ball. And so the dancers knew their dance like a heartbeat at the end, but pushing the button didn't really work. So this is an example of how a high-tech solution could replace a low-tech, button. So after the Tunjie, we then took this glove and we took the same technology and we created a dance glove. And I don't know if you're aware, but in Japan and in Korea, there's this huge movement going on about K-pop and dancing with light and painting with light. And so again, in the middle of the night, they come to me and they're like, we need to do a video, and that glove looks horrible. And so then I was awake 24 hours thinking, my God, what does a dance glove look like, right? And again, drawing upon my fashion background, it had to be something high-tech, so some silver. It had to be futuristic, like Blade Runner, And at the same time, it had to be durable, because the dancers were, doing all kinds of cartwheels and all different kinds of movements on the floor. And because they were dressed in all black, I wanted them to see the glove, So again, using the silver to be reflective with this shield over it allowed me to insulate the glove with padding and also reinforce it from a fashion construction perspective. But it also gave a little bit of a touch. If that glove had been black, you would have no fashion feeling in there, right? You just see this, light show going on. So again, if that glove had been black, I really don't think that the storytelling of the light and the glove would have come across. Also, the silver boosted the light that was emanating from the glove. And also, again, from a fashion perspective, the glove had been seen in certain movies in that style. So after that glove, then we created a smart glove kit. And then we gave it to a fashion designer, Azrael YM, who then displayed and created these gloves, which were on the runway. And these gloves she covered in crystals, so these are like real stone crystals that she placed on top of the lighting shield board. And the reason is that as we are walking ergonomically, we're moving our hands. And so the light she wanted to have projected through the crystals to give it like a three-dimensional effect. And the glove itself, when they were walking on the runway, it was really interesting because the lighting pattern would react to the movements of the models, right? So we can imagine in the future when we have these type of simple aesthetic features that they're actually becoming a part of our expression. That in their accelerometer mode, the lighting pattern that is created is unique to our body movements, right? So again, I really love the idea of boosting the light with natural crystals, and then also having your own individual lighting pattern through your movements. So another project that I did was I created a robotic dress. And the story of the robotic dress is of this woman who is a high-level CEO and working during the day. So the dress has to look like a normal dress that you would wear at work. But as she is running in the evening to go to a high-level event, thanks to modern-day robotics, no bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, instead, the dress transforms into I hope that will move. If it doesn't move, I'll show you later. But the dress actually inflates or pops up into a ball gown. So again, the story of the dress is that in the future, when motors become very small, that one piece of clothing can do more to suit the multitasking lifestyle of women, right? So this day dress can conform into a ball gown and then back down, right? So this is a concept piece, but a lot of people say to me, well, who would wear a robotic dress, But if we think about cosplay, if we think about Christmas time and the wonderful windows displays, why couldn't there be animated clothing out there? And a lot of people, in the end, these little girls who are like 8 and 9, when they see the robotic dress, they're like, I want to wear it, And I love that the robotic dress can actually attract and talk to, these young women and get them excited about, motors and electronics and robotics. Maybe that one will move. No. So these are the laser dresses. And again, the idea, I don't have a great picture of it, but they are really beautiful in person. And so they have high-level laser beams that are inside of the skirt, under the skirt, or also embedded into the bust. And they shoot light, obviously, out as the laser beams. And the idea is that, again, your clothing can actually be bigger than your body, right? They could be bigger than your physical form. So when I walk into the room and I'm wearing this dress, it creates lighting patterns on the ceiling. And I'm walking in, a few steps ahead of me and around me is also lighting pattern. So it's almost like I have a floor-length dress of light, or I have a ceiling height dress. And it's very beautiful when people watch me or the model wearing the dress, because also it also creates lighting patterns on the face, which is, again, kind of like makeup, right? So if you have this laser light down your face, it's a kind of a makeup, right? So the idea here, again, is, yes, we have a physical piece of clothing, but that physical piece can be extended much larger than your body, and also can create sort of a new style, painting with light. So this is the motion dress, and the motion dress by our factory uses our LED ribbon, which is a high-level etextile, which is in my feather flower. And the electronics are woven into the etextile, into the ribbon. And this dress has 16 ribbons, so 8 in the front coming from the shoulder. The controller is on the shoulder, right? And then 8 in the back. And again, you see on the dress, there's the lines which are going in juxtaposition, or in 90 degrees, the black and white lines are going directly in opposite to the LED ribbons. And the designer wanted to create this kind of crossing of the two different kinds of bands of light, because she said that it is a reflection of the chaos of this world, that there's a lot of geometry around us every day, but there's also, I don't know why my GIFs don't work. What a pity, I really want to see them happen. You'll have to come later. But the lighting pattern moves like across the dress, and the material of the dress is very light. So because the ribbon is an actual ribbon, when you walk, everything is kind of moving. It's not like a copper LED, which is so heavy it just folds down. Instead, when you're walking, they create like lightning bolts, right, from the natural movement of the fabric. And then the lighting is moving across. But when you stop, and you're not making a big movement, when I'm just talking to you backstage or something, the light is not on. So it's an intelligent piece of clothing. When I'm talking to you, I don't want to be making you blind, right? So instead, it knows that when I'm making big movement, I want attention, all eyes on me, right? Send that lighting pattern to be happening. But when I'm talking to you and I'm making small movements, don't light up, right? So again, it's situational, right? A lot of times, people who want to wear special clothing, there are moments when they want attention, and then there are moments when they don't want attention. So again, adding this intelligence behind using the microcontrollers can then help to, not make your partner blind. So, yeah. Oh, it was? Oh, okay. How did we do that? Okay. Maybe we go back to the robotic dress, maybe it'll work. So yeah, you see, when you're just moving, it's like, creating this lighting pattern, right? But again, the beauty is when you're not making big movements, it's not lighting up. So I really love that. Let's try the robotic dress, if that one will somehow pop up, because that's a gift. Yeah, okay. So again, and I used umbrella legs. I was like, what kind of legs can I use? So we chopped off an umbrella, So yeah, this dress can pop up and then it can go back down. Great, I'm so glad you could see that. So, the LED bag. So again, this was by our factory. And there's an LED panel in it, and it's a flexible LED panel. So the idea why she made the bag round was because she could, And also the idea of using the silver would then, and this holographic pattern would again, when the light is lighting up, it then is creating more patterns with the holograms, right? And the lighting patterns that we choose was some very slow fades from pink to red to magenta to a light purple, you know? And it's very smooth. And a lot of times I find in hardware that people, you know, they go from red to green to blue, and you're like, Burning Man, right? But fashion and creating and evoking an emotional response. We all know that lighting affects our mood, right? So it's really more of a slow movement, slowly fading from like an aurora borealis. Again, thinking of nature, thinking of the lights that we see. You know, when you go from the midday to the dusk, it's very soft, and we love to watch the sunsets, right? So thinking again in this way about how lighting can affect our moods can definitely make it possible for us to have an emotional response. And again, you know, this lighting pattern is reflective of, you know, the Pac-Man games. It's a kind of retro style. So again, when you're thinking about, you know, incorporating motion, in fashion, we need to look at the past, you know, the Pac-Mans and these old references, because subconsciously they evoke memories and feelings inside of us, of pleasure, of humor, you know. And so this lighting pattern, for example, is like Snake, if you all remember that game, right? So these are the weather dresses. And the concept behind the weather dresses is that, you know, when you're traveling, you don't want to bring a lot of pieces of clothing with you, okay? So these dresses have a soft panel in the front of fiber optic material. And then they are connected to the internet. And they're not only connected to the internet, but they analyze the weather patterns which are happening in the location where you are. So according to the temperature and the cloud formations, then it creates the lighting color effect on this fiber optic material. And again, you know, the dress and the colors you will have in the morning might be more cool if you're in a certain location, maybe Finland, you know. Then midday, you might turn a bit hotter, reds and oranges. And then again, you would fade, you know, to another greens and dark blues as you go into the evening, right? According to the temperature and the weather patterns. And it also means that wherever you go, whatever city you go, you would have a customized piece of clothing that is reflecting and reacting to the environment around you. So this is the Taiji dress, or suit, right? And the one thing that I find in this world which is lacking is everything is Gap. Everything is, you know, Zara, H&M, right? We are losing our culture. And everything is also, I find, very Western focused. And for this piece, I really wanted to bring forth Chinese culture. And it's very common in Chinese culture that businessmen actually practice Taiji, you know? And so we wanted to create a beautifully tailored suit that when the lights are off, it just looks like an amazingly tailored suit. But, you know, what happens here is that it can recognize the Taiji positions, and I sewed 2,500 LEDs by hand into this suit, which I will never do it again, let me tell you. And and the pants and the pants and the top and the shirt are all separated, but they join together in the back of the jacket with the battery. And the idea is, I fought really hard with my engineers about why did I put the sensors in the shirt and why didn't I just put them in the jacket? And I said, because if I want to take my jacket off, right, and I want to put a different style on, the sensors will stay in the shirt. The shirt I probably won't change, but I will change the pants and the top according to the event where I may be going, right? So again, when we think about constructing a garment, we have to think about the lifestyle behind and kind of the usability, like how do we wear clothes? What do we do with those clothes? And I won in the end because I'm the boss. And so I would like to show you a video of the Taiji suit. So the idea is that you're seeing the qi flowing through your body. This is dantian position, right? And exactly. So again, the idea behind the suit is that it could help you to visualize something that is non-visual, like the energy flowing in your body, right? As opposed to it remaining just in your mind, and maybe you're not a person who could really understand, qi flow, but now, when you see the movements and the lights according, you could have a better practice, right? Because you're like, I'm shooting firebolts out my arm, or I'm collecting the energy in my dantian, right? And what I really love about this piece is that when I present it, and then there are all these business people in the conference or wherever, the business guys start punching, and they're like, yeah, this is so cool. And then they start these discussions about, that's not really Tai Chi, and like, you don't move like that. And, it's so funny. And I just look, and again, it's an emotional reaction. They immediately feel some kinship with this concept, right? So let's talk about solar bags, right? And so again, I've been talking to Tully, and he's saying like, yeah, solar doesn't really work, and it's not very efficient, and I'm not sure how much it'll really charge a battery. But again, it's really about communication and expectation. These bags are obviously business bags. They're made for the sales guy who's always on the road, who's always dying in the CES with no battery, and he can't get to where he needs to go because his Chungdianbao died, his phone died, and you see them, they're like always sitting down in the corner, in the airport near the plug, right? The guy I'm talking about, right? And this is not going to be your primary battery, okay? I'm not that ludicrous to think that, but it's there passively collecting energy as you are going out. So when you have that moment, when the Chungdianbao dies, the phone dies, and you really need to get to that client dinner, you have your triple backup. And I think if communicated in that way, it can be fully accepted as reasonable, right? Because it's just there gently collecting energy for you. So I make these really big fashion tech events, and I thought, man, produce the event, which you'll see soon, is like already 200 people. And then I got to produce all the pieces of clothing too. And then I got to do a lot of stuff. So I thought, how can I empower fashion designers to be able to create the clothing so I can just focus on the event? And so I came up with this idea of these fashion tech maker kits. And I also wanted to have more women participating in technology. So you get everything you want in a box to create a robotic dress. What more could you want for Christmas, guys? Sign up to my crowdfunding campaign. But yeah, the idea is that we do need new solutions which are suitable and attractive to women. And that's why I also worked on this LED ribbon. Because fashion designers are like, ew, I don't want to put this hard piece of copper in my clothes, you know? That's totally unreasonable. It's not comfortable, right? So again, by using an etextile, which is a soft fabric ribbon, that they can just sew into the clothes, and they can bend it to make the lighting pattern. They don't have to solder. They don't have to know how to do the electronics. And they can use a skill set that they already have, which is sewing. And we're having such great results with LED bags or, scarves or, jackets with light in them for urban lifestyle. And it's all because we have new materials, and we must continue to create new materials. And when we showed these bags in Amsterdam, which is like the biking capital of the world, right? Everyone was like, awesome! I'll never get another 60-euro fine for not having a light on my bike, because the way the law reads is you just have to have some light on, It doesn't say you have to have that blinking thing on, you just have to have some light. So they were like, cool, we can bike to the club, we can dance at the club, and then we can go home blinking and be visible and not get this fine. So again, I thought that was like super cool idea that it had function, and it had meaning. It had beauty, and it had this additional functional feature. And so, again, this is Carly Rose, and she hand beaded on top of the ribbon, which then diffuses the light, and then it creates a feeling of, starlight, which when you see that, and it very softly fading in and out, and is, colored and so on. She also sewed it into this dress, But she was only able to do that because of the e-textile material and her ability to embroider on top of it. So I'm really fascinated by having these artisans, for example, who do embroidery or who are, way out there in the Ming area of China. I want them to make scarves, I want them to make things, because then they could become highly skilled workers. Highly skilled and knowing how to deal with electronics into a beautifully fashioned garment. And they could have more work and more work possibilities. And I mean, everybody is like now jumping on mobikes and they're riding down the street, and I'm always in Beijing in black, riding in the dark on the wrong side of the street, right? and I'm surprised I'm not, got hit yet. But again, having a scarf that just looks like a scarf, but at the same time I turn it on, and it has this additional visibility feature. When I get to where I'm going, I turn it off, and it just looks normal. I think this is an incredibly powerful concept for today in our new urban lifestyle with sedgeways and with all kinds of different, mobility options. And here, Shinova, she made a digital print on the scarf, and she combined it together with the LED ribbon. And I think it is very beautiful concept of the circuit board. And of course, it's so Silicon Valley, right? And yeah, I'm wearing this feather flower fascinators, which so many women love who go to events like Mardi Gras or even just out for the evening. Again, they're not high-powered lights that are blinding you. It's very soft and subtle. And many times I'm talking to somebody and they're looking around and I'm like, gosh, they're so distracted, right? Like, am I not that interesting? But then they'll all of a sudden lean in and they'll be like, are there lights in that? And I'm like, yes, there are. And they're like, I've been trying to figure that out for half an hour now, you know? And I think that's the effect that we want, a surprise, that it's not obvious, but that it evokes an emotion. So yeah, the other thing that I do is that I create these large-scale exhibitions where then I invite all these startups and companies to come, and they takes place in the Fashion Expo called The Chic, and it's a huge space, and we showcase the latest trends. And I think it's really important why I do this is because we need the industry, the fashion brands, to know the technology and to partner with startups together. And so creating these themed environments where then you're led around, then you can understand how these technologies are related to each other and what kind of interactive environment and lifestyle we are moving into, right? And then they can imagine, because they can actually experience the technology, and they can think, oh, I could put this in my store. Oh, that would be great for my business. Oh, this would really help me in my marketing. Oh, I could make something with those sensors in these clothes, right? And so I think it's really important from an experiential standpoint to have these types of exhibitions, which are kind of like, you know, the World Expo, where you actually, there's a theme, and it's not just like a banner poster with a PPT and like this. We actually need to walk into the technology and feel it and experience it. And GSMA is this big event called that does Mobile World Congress. And they asked me to create a wearable tech runway show. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but most wearable tech runway shows are just models walking down the runway like this, and that's about all they do. And then they have something in their hand. And it's like, how would you ever know that that has technology in it? You wouldn't. So my wearable tech runway show is like a spectacle. And the idea is there are 12 different scenes. Each scene has a theme of one technology. And then I use the lighting and the sound and the choreography to express what does that technology do. And we worked with the top 10 fashion schools who created concept clothing and so on. And I'm so proud I have my producer here, Tanya, in the audience, who bears with me through this amazing production. And lots of 250 brands came, fashion brands and government officials, and 7,000 people from the technology industry. And designers from Poland, from around the world, working together to create this kind of showcase pieces. So the first scene is about the evolution of mobile technology, fiber optic dress. Then we have VR and designing in this VR environment. And so I found clothes with all sorts of, you know, paintings on them and so on. Pollution protection clothing, extremely important. Model died on the runway. But all the wearables, you know, styled up to be like, you know, new style. Solar-powered clothing made by the Polish fashion industry. Watches and weather with Samsung. You know, forgot her umbrella, the guy comes running. PVC clothing, I love it. But it's important that we start mashing up all these different elements to envision what is the future fashion tech lifestyle. What is the aesthetic? What does it look like? How do we wear these wearables? Misfit Shine created a whole bunch of concept jewelry. Music and fashion, very beautiful concept, especially with dancing and hip hop and just in general how we love to share music together. Robotics and fashion. She actually controls the little robot with her harness, which is so cool. 3D printing and fashion, right? Big, big thing. Jewelry and also clothing, accessories. And so I invite the startups to show, and then the students to explore, and then the fashion designers to create, because together we are telling the story of the lifestyle. They didn't give me enough smoke for the laser dresses. So again, the woman is transforming from day into evening. So again, in San Francisco, I created then the largest event I've ever done, 15,000 square meters, where I took the exhibitions that I do, and then the fashion show that I do, and then also a conference, and I combined them together. And we had Rami Khadi hologram clothing from Lebanon, man. It was just insane. And he made glow-in-the-dark bug clothing, which is, you'll see, it's really incredible. And then we even had Shinova and designers who created concept pieces and pitched them to the audience. And we had, those iconic Iris von Harpen 3D printed clothing matched together with VR. And it was a spectacle, I tell ya. And I almost died in the process. And I worked 10 weeks in advance with the San Francisco State University. And again, thanks to the Berkeley Sourcing Group who supported us with social media and promotion. Rock on, we love you. And we mashed them together in the startup garden. So we had startups and the young fashion designers together, right? And that's way we could cross-pollinate them together, right? And luckily we had IBM as our sponsor, who then selected 7 startups who were using their technology, that then I took their concepts and I built the fashion show around that. Everybody loves fashion. So again, each scene had a theme, but this time behind the startups that they were presenting. So Blue Mix, we had the Blue Mix girl and cloud computing, and we had 3D printed cloud dresses and everything together with the Blue Mix girl who, wove her way through them, and then she ignited them all. And this was Black Box, and all about how women working together, and I had the models building a spaceship and so on. But again, the clothing was all 3D printed and so on. VR, so the clothes on the dress had eyeballs on it, and then they were wearing VR headsets, and all about, seeing mixed reality and so on. And talking about really important topics like data and privacy and personal data control. And having the world's leaders in fashion tech speaking, and also a lot of the world's leaders in Silicon Valley. And I tell you, 1,700 VIPs, 500 from the top vice presidents from all of the top companies, and I personally vetted all of them. You didn't come to the event unless you talked to me, basically. because I want to make sure that all the people that come to our events, that they have a reason to be there and that they're going to get value and that they find what they're looking for. So I offended a lot of people. I'm like, who are you? And why do you want to come? And they're like, you don't know who I am? I'm a VC. And I was like, don't be offended, but like, why do you want to come? I want to make sure you get value. Oh, I offended so many people. It was ridiculous, but they still came. And in conclusion, we do a lot of events around the world where we partner and we, give technology to these young designers to see how are they going to integrate it into their creations. And a lot of surprising things come out because that generation, the millennial generation and under, they have grown up with technology. They have a different expectation than I may have. And so I think it's really important as a startup for you to engage with fashion, because fashion designers, fashion people, fashion professionals are masters of lifestyle. They will give you insight into which technology, in which moment, and how to make it relevant through aesthetic and design. Thank you very much.